Welcome back to Wayne's World RC. Now we're going to do the rear RPM arms for the Lasernut, sorry. Here's the part number. There's the arms. Take them out. Package. See what we got. Cool sticker, RPM. As you see, there's a rear, R for rear, sorry. There's no left and right, so that's easy. And as you see these triple ribs, always remember they're your shocks. So we'll put one on this side and one on this side. Now we'll get out our new screws that actually go through our sway bars and go through our shocks. We'll put them aside because we know we'll use them. Alrighty. First thing we're going to want to do is always dismount the tires. Get them out of the way. Make it easier to actually take and get our hands around things. Once we get our screw out, remove one tire, which is our cool replacement tire. It's actually the same size as your other tires. Each tire is all the same. There's no directions on which one goes left, which one goes right. I mean, which one's the front, back, rear, left side, or right side. So they're universal. A little bit more. Take that off, put our nuts with our tire. Okay, now what I want to see is, I'll probably start with the shocks to get them out of the way. That's usually the one that, with the shocks, that hold pressure. Onto the actual A-arm, so it's harder to maneuver around. So we'll remove the shock. Lift it up, out of our way. Now I think a good suggestion would be to actually dismount the CV shaft and dismount the hub carrier. It'll probably be a lot easier to do now than it would be to do later. So I suggest getting out your stock little goodies that come with your vehicle. Unscrewing the hub carrier. Pull it through one side, put the screws back together onto the actual shaft. Lift it up out of the way. Now, another suggestion I have is to remove the back tire support. So we're going to take these two screws out. quite a long screw, believe it or not, because it's got to hold the actual rear tire mount on. Or the rear spare tire. The screw's quite long. Set it aside. Now we'll replace the other screw. Not replace, but remove the other screw. Set it aside. Remove the cap, hinge pin cap. And what you want to do now is loosen these two screws on the side of your mount, your spare tire mount. Well, might not have had to loosen them actually. Now what I suggest, which might be an extra step to some, but what I think I will do is I will take out this actual arm support. What this does is it helps me get things out of my way, which is fairly easy. These are GPM anyway. Once I move that out of the way, this is out of the way. Now, I'm going to lift the car up. And as we can see, this might be a little bit more difficult because we might have to take off more than we thought. So what I suggest is actually tighten these back up. Move this pin out of the way, the hinge pin carrier. So this one isn't as bad. Move the hinge pin. So we don't have to disassemble none of this rear. All we have to do is just lift it up a little bit to move it out of the way. Now you want to take off your balancer. Unscrew it from your stock A-arm. Now you can move it out of the way and start assembling the other A-arm, which is by RPM. So first you want to put this stabilizer in. Make sure you use the screws that come with RPM because they're longer and you can get them in there. A little bit of time trying to get them out. Back in, I mean. Now my suggestion, when you have that hooked up, is to actually take and move your shock back out of the way and just put your hinge pin in just to keep things aligned. Now you can take and put the actual balance bar back in. Once that's in place, put your screw back in. What it'll do is it'll help hold things in place, or at least hold on to the arm so it's not dangling. Once that's back in place, now what we can do is put the hub carrier in a CV shaft or drive shaft back in. Put our hub carrier pin back in place. Tighten the nut back down. Tighten the nuts back together. That's one side, which is very easy compared to the back. What I like to do now to hold everything in place is put my shock back in place. Mount it back to the actual A-arm. There's one side. Now that's one side, as you see, which is pretty cool. Now, for the other side, what we're going to do again, first we'll remove our hub carrier, get it out of our way. our little nut back on. Set it where we can get to it. Now, move our shock. Get our shock out of the way. Now, we want to remove our balancer bar. Once we get this out of the way, now the A-arm is free. Pull the pin out. Now we can unscrew the balancer bar. Again, make sure you use the screws that come with the RPM arm. They're longer. Pull the balancer bar out. Set the arm aside. If you can see, it's much beefier than the stock. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and remount our balancer bar in place. Once that's screwed in, now we want to put our pin back in place. Put our CV shaft in. Do the slot. Put the balancer bar screw back in. Tighten it down. Now, I suggest putting in the rear hub carrier. Take our two tools that came with most of our RC and tighten it down very snug because they could come loose. Now we want to put our pin in place. Make sure both pins are in place. Now, our metal bar will go right back in place. Make sure that it actually goes in. There's a part, as you see, make sure it goes into the slot. Once that's in, and your pins are in place, now you want to put your rear cover on. Once you put your rear cover on, now we just put in the rear bolts back in place. The reason why I didn't put the shock back in first is because if you can release tension, it's easier to put them in. One side is easier, you know, you can leave one side on. But now we just want to take these long screws and screw them back into the back differential, which holds the whole thing together. Now I'll try to do it as fast as I can and put these screws back in place. Just screw back in. Now that we have that back in place, now what we can do with our shock, what I did last time and I do all the time, is I put it actually in the center first, and then I'll drive the vehicle just to see, you know, if the rebound's good, if everything's the way it's supposed to be.